Good evening and welcome to Dog Talk. I'm Dan Camilleri.
And I'm Laura McKillop. We'd like to start by thanking Enduro for their ongoing support in bringing you our weekly Q&A. Tonight we're fortunate enough to be speaking with David and Sarah Lee from the Lee's Working Dogs.
Sarah and Dave will be picking who they think has asked the best question of the night, and they'll win a bag of Enduro high-end food for working dogs with real kangaroo meat.
Hey guys,
Good evening,
how you going?
Hey,
G'day.
thanks.
Sweet.
How's it looking in sunny Victoria down there?
We've had a few wet days actually. Last 3 days we've had scuddy types of showers. We had a real wet start to the season, so fair bit of mud getting about there for a while. But yeah, the last say 8 days previous we had some good weather and just enough to dry it out. Yeah, so we can get about in the paddock now anyway.
So you're telling me you're pretty fit at the moment, mate, by doing a bit of walking?
We wouldn't go that far.
Guys, for people out there that may not know or have heard of you, do you want to just, obviously we've introduced you, but just tell us a bit about yourselves?
Sure, Sarah.
So we're dog breeders and trainers, and we also do a bit of livestock contracting in southwest Victoria. So we're taking a few outside dogs for training as well as training our own. We don't sell pups, we sell going dogs. It's been really important to us to make sure they end up in the right homes. So that's why we don't sell pups, because you never know what you're going to get. So we make sure they're started and we know exactly what the dog is, so we can match them up to their owner and what their needs and requirements are for the job.
And you've got a bit of an accent there, Sarah. Do you want to tell us a little bit about your background?
Yes, I'm from England. My parents have a farm over there, and I was brought up around dogs, cattle and sheep. And I decided when I was about 20 to come out to Australia for a holiday. My sister was already out here, and we love horses too. So they already had a job on a cattle station far north Queensland at a place called Laura. So I flew out and met them, and we got this job on a cattle station, and Dave happened to be contracted in as a muster there. So
Ta-da!
that's where I met Dave.
Here's one we prepared earlier.
Yeah.
It was a big eye-opener though. Nothing, I was totally not prepared for it. So there was a lot of feral bulls up there, and there were so many trees. I was expecting wide open plains, but yeah, there were so many trees and ant mounds that people were falling off. Their horses were flipping over, and then I'd see Dave, and he'd be, chasing down a bull on his horse, and he'd fly off and swing it by the tail, and then they'd time up the trees, and we'd have to go back later and pick them up. So it was a real eye opener for me. I wasn't expecting any of that.
And coming from England and having a partner that was import myself and was taught proper English. When you went to North Queensland, did you understand a bloody word they were saying?
No, but they reckon they can understand me, and I'm saying, how can you not understand me? I speak English.
Yeah.
I didn't have many teeth back then neither, so I'll do a bit of spitting.
Nat says the same. She goes, I thought my English was good, but when I went to North Queensland, I couldn't understand a bloody word.
No, and they will call you Bull or Joe, and you don't know if they're talking about you or someone called Joe or what's going on.
And how about the language?
Yeah, so Dave and I had a few instances where I couldn't understand what he was talking about. So, but we've overcome that now. But yeah, it was a bit tricky to start off with.
And how about yourself, Dave? What bit of background on yourself, mate?
Born in Rocky. Grew up, done most of my childhood years in southwest Queensland, little town called St George. So cut my teeth there, and a drover come through town, and with 1,000 head of bullocks and a wagonette, and so I didn't get much of an education. I headed out at 14 and went droving. Yeah. So that's where it started for me, Yeah.
So how did you guys end up in Victoria then? Obviously you met up north, so totally different.
What's it? It sounds like a scene from that movie Australia. Just now.
Well, there was a few of them scenes actually. Then, yeah.
Well,
Sorry, Laura, I couldn't help myself.
We've done 8 years contracting up in Queensland together, and then I said today, sick of this heat. And by then we'd had Tommy, and Dave was also a horse breaker, so as well as mustering cattle, he'd be breaking in horses and stuff like that. It was getting a bit too hard with the little fella and the heat, so I said, come on, I'm sick of this. I've done 8 years up here, let's go to England for a little bit. So I managed to con him over to England for 6 months. So we went over there and had a look at dogs, and that was a big eye-opener for Dave. He met a few good fellas over there too. And then when we came back, we decided that we're going to try and find a place down south to work on, so we could work some sheep and find some different dogs. So we started off on a little adventure, and we ended up at McBride's at Kingston on a big sheep property there, and got into the dog trialing through being there. And Lucendale was on, and I think they had what was the other one? But we got into the dog trialing, and then there was a dog trial at Edenhope, and we went to it and saw this place for sale. So that's how we ended up here.
Yeah, wow.
Beautiful. And
Just like
you did a
that.
bit just like that.
So how was England an eye-opener for you, Dave? Or was it?
I spent a fair bit of time being a cowboy and breaking in horses and living that sort of life. I beat my body up a little bit. I was mustering one day with this old fellow, and he just poked along, and his dog's done everything. And I thought to myself, look, this looks like a good go. I'll get a few dogs so I can ride some young horses, send the dogs, and then catch up to the mob, and I could keep doing my thing. So it originally started from there. I had hunting dogs, pig dogs, and like bull catching dogs and all them type of dogs. So it's went from there to, we went and done a couple of schools in Queensland prior to going over to England. And that was a light bulb moment for me as a handler. I thought, like, there's just so much to learn, and I just got on the learning train, and so excited to, that's only how Sarah got me over too. We're all excited about dog training, and you get to go do all these good things, and it all sounded good at the time, But yeah, we got on the learning train, went over, and went and had a look at a few dogs and doing the whole geo. So is really, I didn't realise myself, and I never categorised myself as I was stereotyped, and I was. So going over there just sort of helped me know it's all right to train a different sort of dog, just because it's not doing what you wanted. You could have a lighter dog or a wider dog. You could just put some other training on and stuff. So, it was a good experience for me, really. That was a transition between the rough cattle dog. Like, we used to do a lot of coaching, mustering and stuff like that. So you ride your horses like you stole them, and the dogs just had to go along. They block them buggers up and get at them, type of a deal. So, then to going over there and working really like 3 sheep dogs and seeing how they're going, like, in the back of my mind, because I was so stereotyped, thinking these dogs would never be any good in Australia.
Yeah.
They're not going to be able to move nothing, But so, look, it got me on a bit of a journey of learning, which we're still on, really. So,
is that when, did that broaden your mind then, or prior to going, were you a bit more open-minded? When you thought about, like, when you're going, you go, holy shit, like, we're going to be in a different environment, different dogs.
Yeah. Look, I think leading up from just having work dogs and not like, not trialing, because the people I hung around, trial dogs are no good. They're waste of time. Don't waste your time with them. Only work dogs and all that. But what I've learned over the years is if they could have had a handle on their dogs and could have presented them, they would have loved to go into local trials, you know. So it was a bit of is getting out of that mindset. You know, the only difference between a work dog and a trial dog is how we started, taught to approach his stock nicely, and we can position him to where we want. Yes, on smaller numbers, and we can go to bigger numbers later on, but it's how we desensitize them earlier that, you know, that makes a dog to be a work dog and a trial dog. You know, that's what we worked out, you know. So,
and when we went to the UK, all our dogs were collies. We had a couple of kelpies, but they were mainly all collies, and we had hard biting collie dogs. So when we went, we were looking at collies, but I think we didn't find anything that fitted, you know, what we wanted to have over here. So we were a little bit disappointed we didn't find what we were looking for. But at the end of the day, now we've got really into the kelpies. We sort of found a different way for our dogs, and what we were looking for back then, we're not looking for now. So a lot's changed since then. We're not mustering breeders or feral cattle. We're mustering sheep, or most of the cows have seen a dog anyway, so you don't have to worry about, you know, trying to fight them.
And Sarah, did you have like a background around horses yourself?
Yeah, so mum and dad used to breed horses. They had dogs, so it's always, you know, brought up around horses, dogs, cattle, sheep. But we definitely didn't use the horses to get the cows in. You shake a feed bag and the cows would come running. So it's slightly different.
So how was like Dave's horsemanship skills different to like your upbringing when you started rubbing shoulders?
So different. And Dave's one of those people that's like, he's a natural horse and dog person. It comes naturally to him. He's so good at it. And then you get someone like me that's not very good at it. And he's, you know, I'm really lucky that I've had him to teach me over the years, and I've learned so much from him. But I think it's been a lot harder for Dave trying to, you know, teach me to get out the old pony club style of riding and English saddles and sitting up straight and, you know, all that sort of stuff, to sit back and, you know, sit in your seat and hold on and slap him on the arse and off you go.
You hadn't done that for a while.
Dave, I know you got something cheeky to say there, but you're holding your tongue. I can see it. How's your approach to horses? How did that help you when you started seeing like that gentleman with his dogs? And then how did that come about, mate? Did you take a lot of that horsemanship on board? Yeah,
look, to me, you can, and I've seen a lot through my horse career. People could get books and they could read as much as they wanted on a horse, but doesn't mean that they can they've got feel with a horse. And breaking in a lot of stock horses and quarter horses young, like a few sort of rank types, and then we broke in a few thoroughbreds. They're all different cut of cloth, like they all work off of feeling. So, and the more I picked up with me feel with the horses, I could get them softer and nicer. And what I relate that to is to the dogs. We've got a different type of methods that we use that are a lot more natural, and they rely on feel. We're not that type of person that just, you know, there's a dog, and if it doesn't sit around our training, that's it. We've got a style where we see who the dog is, see the way he thinks, how he gets about his stock, and then we set up a few little exercises to help him grow. You know, and I learnt that from the horses. And where I could ride a little bit, so I'd probably get leaning on my horses and probably bullying them a little bit. You know, being a cowboy, you'd like to be lapping everything, and so I recognise I actually were training most of them that way when I was sort of a bit sore or whatever, I'd have to train a bit of a different way. But I've been able to relate that to the dog job and how we start them, you know. So when we first decided that we wanted to be dog trainers, like, you know, we had to put it to practice all these different theories of seeing if we could train different types of dogs. So, yeah, I relate a lot to a horse. Yeah, and I see a lot of fellas that have spent a lot of time on a horse, walking stock somewhere. They know where to be. So yeah, I've got to thank a lot to the horses, really. You know.
I love the way you described that, and the way you highlighted feel, because we talk about feel a lot in our dogs, but I suppose I'm lucky enough to work in a couple of different circles now and in different disciplines, and a lot of people are talking about the feel that handlers have for their dogs, as well as, like, we always relate that back to our dogs on stock, and it's I think it doesn't get highlighted probably enough. Of, you know, a lot of times, like, rather than try and tell a dog what to do, like you just said then, like, work with the dog and have some feel for it, and you know what you can probably make a better dog based on something that somebody else would have binned earlier, right?
Correct, because dogs don't talk human. Dogs talk dogs. So if we're can understand how he's thinking, how he's feeling, well, it gives you a bit of a roadmap to getting trained, you know? Yeah. And how he responds to pressure. How much pressure do we put out that he's going to be responsive to? Yeah. So, yeah, it's feel all the way around.
Absolutely.
And another thing, you know, that sort of stuck in my mind, we used to muster on this block out near St George, and you had heaped back in them days. There would be dogs tied in underneath every tree. You know, they'd get let off. He'd either follow and go to work, or he never. You know, and they'd be clipped back underneath the tree. But we used to head sort of south from the block, and there was a big high hill, and all the dogs tied the other way. And like, you'd be over there mustering, and there'd be dogs barking and barking and barking. And you go, oh, them barking buggers, like, and up there, everyone freaks out. If they hear a dog bark, like, they start immediately freaking out. There's bad dogs barking, you know. So, but you'd come back, trot your horse back, and go up the top of the hill, and then you'd just be trying to see which dogs are barking. As soon as your head pops up on the hill, they all go quiet. So you could never work out who it was. So, like, how do they know I'm just about to pop my head up, you know? So, yeah, they're smarter than what we give them credit for, I reckon.
Mate, I've got 3 5-month-old pups there right now. As soon as I open that glass door just half an inch, like, you buggers, I can't pick you.
Yeah.
Training people has taught us a lot too. So when you're watching someone else work a dog, you can see their timing's out, they're out of position, and that's what's causing things to go wrong with their dog. It's so much clearer to see, you know, from the outside looking in than when you're actually in there training a dog. So I think we've learned a lot through that too. You've got to make sure your position's right, your timing's right, or, you know, you run into a few dramas there.
How's that helped you grow yourself, Sarah, like teaching?
Yeah, well, it's helped me to understand that that's got a lot to do with it. If you're late, you know, correcting your dog, if you're in the wrong spot, well, you just making things 10 times harder, and the dog's not understanding what you're doing. So yeah, that's helped me a lot to realise, to make sure I'm in the right spot, to make sure you're correcting them at the right time, so that then they know what they've done's right or wrong. It's been a big help for me, that's for sure.
Do you think it's actually improved your timing? Like, how am I going to work? Like,
it's a lot easier to recognise, especially we've got a young lad working for us at the moment, and he's been doing a lot of training with us, and it's made me realise, you know, that's how I used to be. So I've come such a long way from where I was, because you're so oblivious to it. It's not something that's, you know, comes naturally to you like it does Dave. He just knows to be in the right spot at the right time, and it's the feel for him, whereas, you know, some of us don't have that natural feel, and you've got to learn it. So yeah, it's been a big help for me, and a big realization that it's taken me a long time to work that all out.
It definitely grounds you, because like Beanie come down here, and basically we just weaned him off his mum and got him down here and got him going. And like he's sort of done nothing prior, so it's a real level and experience to have someone, you know, green as green, bare as bare, you know, and to start, you know, and it helps you put things in, you know, in placement, you know, so in steps when you're training your dogs, you know, and to really break it down. So yeah.
You mentioned
You're
it
right.
for how a lot of people that have been on the back of a horse know where to position themselves on a mob or on stock.
Yeah.
Did you guys find, because I know I personally did, is I wanted to be in the spot of the dog rather than putting the dog there. Did you guys experience that at all? Like when you first started out?
Well, originally you're the dog. So
Yeah.
you got to go where the dog's got to be. So you've just got to turn that around and let the dog go there and you go there. You know, some of the biggest mistakes we can do is push a dog off his job. You know, if you get riding where he's supposed to be, you're going to start offending him. He's either going to get more over early to you or just not like you. I think, you know, like where I cut my teeth, if you rode a horse in front of someone while you're mustering, well, that's what it should be on, see? And there's sort of 16 in a camp, and so there's always a little bit of fisticuffs about you get riding in front of there, they get offensive. Same with the dog. So, you know, if they've walked a lot of mobs, they've been the dog and had to get there. So now it's your turn to shine and let the dog do it and kick back, you know, get on Facebook or whatever we do. Let the dog take over.
Well, while we're on the touch of Phil there, or the case of Phil, you mentioned earlier you started
Touch
with
of
the
Phil.
collie camp, and now it's predominantly a Kelpie camp.
Yeah.
How did you? And you mentioned like those hard biting dogs to start with. How did you find your Kelpies now a more natural feely dog than the dogs you had before, or vice versa, or?
Because we were, like, I was a collie person, that's all I wanted was collies. So the dogs that we've chose present themselves like a collie. I went for dogs with big square flanks. And so they've got similar styles. There's a little bit of similarity, but on a whole, Kelpies are, you know, a lot more independent type of a dog. You know, so when we're training a few collies, we don't get in their heads as much as what we used to. We're like without them real forward going dogs. So what we do, we get our dogs a little bit balanced up or taking the weight of their stock. But all we're trying to achieve is a little bit of movement in front of their stock. And once we do that, we then get this, we call it a neutral, just disengaging them from their stock. So that they can be stood up or laid down or however they want to be, they can be in front of their stock and be calm. And you would leave your collies alone a lot more, so he's not looking at you for guidance. So where a Kelpie, you've got to really make a big point with them to be a part of the mob, to include you in part of the mob. But once you broke through to them and, you know, they know that you know what they're thinking, it's easier then to sort of sneak on them a little bit, because I don't want to break them down. I don't want to muck with who they are. You know, I just want to see what makes them tick to be able to bring the best out of them. So, so there is a lot of differences, but you get a lot of differences in the collie lines, and you get a lot of differences in the Kelpie genetics too, I'm finding. So, yeah, but we do approach them a bit different.
The Kelpies also have the natural back and bark, so it's a lot easier to teach them than it is the collies.
Yeah.
Yeah. And do you guys like a similar style of dog?
I think no, we're slightly different in that I like to soak mine up a bit, and I love that they want to have a pat and a cuddle, and they want to be with me all the time. I like the dogs that really want to please me and that are really biddable, so I don't like getting a sore throat telling my dog to sit down all day or to get off the sheep. So I like the ones that the softer dogs, whereas I think Dave likes the more stronger.
I like them a little bit crazy. Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
You
like
want the dogs that nobody
I
else
like them
wants?
quirky. Like I want them a bit quirky, and I want them to have so similar, but no.
He likes the ones
No.
that give you a sore throat, and I don't.
No.
Guilty.
Well, yeah.
So there's a question here from Mark Mangold, and he's asked, being a husband and wife team, do you ever have different opinions on the dog's training procedures? And if so, who's the big dog of the relationship and gets the final say?
Yes, we quite often have difference of opinion, but
That's sheep yard talk. That,
but Dave's the boss, so I know my place.
no, and and I've got to admit more and more now. So when dogs are ours that come in the training, whether they're our own that we're processing or they're outside dogs, if they need a bit more nurturing, I just pass the footy to Sarah and let her run it straight, because she naturally likes that, where so that's work to treat for us really, and I don't always win. She's just making out.
Is that the same? Is that the same with your pups? Like, does Sarah do you find you more raising the pups a bit more, and putting a bit more of those manners on them early on, and then Dave steals them, or?
Yeah.
The kids, we're lucky we got the kids. They bag them down, mate. So they'll be scruffing them little buggers from the time they do they're big enough to play with. Like, there'll be pups hidden in the house, under things, under beds,
the bed.
So the kids do a big part in handling them. But the only thing we do now, we don't argue over this too much now anymore, but we imprint them young to come to a whistle for food. So we're on the same playing field. That's the only thing that I impose on the litter, where it wasn't puppy and I'm going to kiss you and cuddle you and the whole lot of it. So they get scruffed by the kids and they get imprinted to a whistle. So that's all we do. Really.
I do spend a lot of time with the pups from an early age. Like, even when the bitch is whelping out, I'm there. I don't leave her on her own. So I do all that sort of stuff. Dave does not like it, so he stays out the road. But I spend a lot of time getting to know the pups, so I know each individual pup, and then I'll pick them before I've even worked them. I'll pick which ones that I want, and then we often have disagreements because I've picked one that I like, and then Dave will see it at work and he'll say, that's a nice one, I'm having that one. And I'll say, no, I already picked it, that's my one. So it ends up turning out that they normally pick me. So I normally get them back in the end.
Yeah, that's all right then.
Same here. Same here. Like, litters we have now since Nat's been here, is she can tell me more about those pups than I can. I'm just like, what? How you got so much time to do that? But I don't know. I just find probably women's more attention to detail than us sometimes, Dave. We just get a bit carried away. And they get a bit nurturing, and they can just pick quirks. And like you said, you've picked your pup a lot earlier there, Sarah.
Yeah, we can tell there's full-on ones, there's quiet ones. There's one in the litter that was really, really friendly, and every time I left him, he'd whine. And I said to Dave, he's not going to suit you because he's really reliant on me. So that's going to be my pup. And even now, like when I walk out, he won't leave me. He's always with me, even if there's pups. So yeah, I think spending that time with him, you do learn a lot about them from a young age, and I can pick those characteristics if they're going to suit me or if they're more likely to suit Dave.
But I must admit too, for my own personal choice of dog, like in them pups, so if a pup picks me over Sarah in the litter, I jump on that train and just sort of ride. Because like it doesn't want to be a part of them. Gee, I've got its attention. It might lack a few little things, but because it wants me, and it's fierce competition, right?
You feel special.
Yeah, I do. I feel like a chosen one.
Are you mentioned imprinting on the whistle there. Are you imprinting just that pup, or are you imprinting the whole litter?
The whole litter, yeah.
Whole litter.
You said
hardest thing
sort
we
of
got
food.
Sorry.
You said you use a whistle to food.
Yeah.
You-
So when you're going to feed them, instead of saying "here, bop, bop, bop," it's dinner
Yeah.
time, we'll use a whistle. So they all come out to a whistle. So
Yeah.
you're imprinting them to come. When we use a certain whistle, they already know it means come to us.
Yeah.
You're conditioning them early to that
Yeah.
marker, I suppose.
And the whistle's been around for however many years, and they've been trained through a whistle. So it's a natural part of a dog's learning. So if we can get them to learn from there, and they're responding to a whistle, just makes our program a lot easier. Because to me, verbal, there's a fair bit of just white noise. Like dogs respond more to melatonin than they do the same melatonin. Like the variation is what they pick up on, I find.
Yep.
So
Not how we say, but what we say. Not what we say, but how we say it. Sorry.
Yeah.
and a whistle is just so much clearer for them. So our dogs are coming here for training. Well, we just train them for a whistle, and if they don't whistle, that's fine. They can imprint them however they want to put their verbals over the top of that. So we find by starting that early, just helps us, do the deal.
Yep.
Yeah, and then now more than ever, and because we're not short of hounds, we're in not a big hurry to get them all trained. If we can just have the basic things like a call off, we leave them alone now. Like especially when we know what we're breeding, what types, we're familiar with it. Instead of a lot of handlers or a lot of breeders, they're in a big hurry to pick a pup so they can send the rest of the pups out. So they're pushing and they get poking a little bit more because there's not a dog that you can't break down through pressure.
Yeah.
So that's definitely out.
And are you guys doing any lead work with your young pups or dry work, or you waiting more until they're old enough to put down on stock? Or
Well, they get tied up. They get a
And the kids put them on. We put a collar on them, and the kids take them for walks on a lead, so they get a lot of lead time. They get clipped up before they come in the arena, or whatever you want to call it, sheep yard. So that we've got clips all along the side, so they get clipped up before they come in. But and for our call-offs, we use a long line, so they've got to be conditioned to a lead before we get into doing any of that.
And you mentioned a few times you have a training program. What is that? Well, are you happy to share that program? Is there step-by-step way that you guys do things, or you just call it a program?
Where do I send the invoice? No.
Australian
depends
Working
on the
Stock
dog.
magazine.
No, look. So leaving it basic, keep just good house maintenance with them. They're not jumping all over you. And they can play with other dogs. And then we expose them to our sheep in smaller numbers. And what we want to do is just we let them get chasing at that time. Like we don't get them in and then want to be balance them up or bringing stock to us or anything like that. The first time is usually just to let them have a bit of a smell around, see what's there, have a little bit of a look. And we don't really start our dogs to 14, 16 weeks now, only because I don't want to knock them around, over a silly little mistake. We don't start them then, but I think of them as a rubber ball. So I want to be able to get them as soft. And so what I mean by soft, so we can position him anywhere around that ball and he's happy to go there. Dogs are usually left-handed or right-handed. You only get a few ambidextrous ones that are even, and that's all cool. I've trained dogs that are one-sided and you can get them to go the other way. So I find cleaning their turns up so they've got good positive movement in front of their stock. We get them to do that and just, and feel the weight of our stock a little bit. We might have a yard dog one, so we might have to approach him a little bit different. But for the all round and the paddock dog, go. We create that bit of feel, and then we work on our neutral. So that's our disengaging them for their stop. So they all get that. So that's the start of your stop. Because I've seen it so much. People are so freaking out about their stop. You know, they pick a fight on it all the time, and the dog didn't understand what's going on. So we find a neutral, and then we turn that into our stop. And this might be it varies on the dog that we're training. Some get there by 10 months, some get there by 14 months. Who cares? Some, just because they're a couple of months different doesn't mean they're going to be any different dog, you know. But we just spell all this out to them. So we've got good movement anywhere we want, and off our body pressure we can put him anywhere we want around our ball, you know. And we know he's soft that way. So we've got our neutral, then we turn our neutral into a stop, and I like to get them stopped in front of them, from the side and from the back. And then when it comes time to putting our stop on them, we've got a drench race here we've made up at home, and we spend a lot of time in the drench race. But you can get them in there, and you get them used to confined spaces, and we get our stop on them there. So they're in that confined space. There's only one place they can go, you know. And we also use it for if dogs are down in confidence, you go, well, here's a good time to get a good bark up on him. You know, so if he's a bit down, we use the race work for that. So there's a bit of a juggling between that, but that helps us get our good stop on them. And then we teach them to walk straight lines and get the pressure we want to put on the stop. And why we do this, so we can have our work dog, then we can have some fun with him on the weekend, you know? Yeah. So this is, for this method, just allows us to take our work dogs trial and two. You know, most people go, we only got 500 or 2,000, we haven't got time for that. But there's always a hoppy-legged sheep somewhere, or a bunch of killers. Like, you know, there's just a few exercises you can do just to help prepare your pup, for bigger and a brighter future, because you can always rev a pup up, but getting him to rate his stop first properly. If you can do that, you can always come back. It's like a little safety net. You can just fall off, all go terrible, boom, you're back on the safety net. You know, he's approaching his stop properly. He's not going too quick. So yeah, good movement, clean our stop up, and get him to approach his stop in a fashion that agrees with us. So they all go through that, and we break all them steps down, and we spell it out a little bit different to them. Whatever hound it is, like, they've all got something a little bit different. Even in the same litter, there'll be like, we've got them where they all work, and there's very similar types, but there's still a few that think a bit different. So we're not scared to change what we're doing just to help the dog along. But a lot of it is knowing how he's feeling. Is he anxious today? Is he down a bit? Is he high-headed? Is his tail up? Sort of seeing how he feels is to where we can take him. Yeah. So that's a part of what we do anyway.
Yeah. Speaking of that, like, if you go to work on something and you have a dog, you know, if he feels a bit down or something, will you maybe keep that session to, you know, real short intervals?
Or spice it up a bit. Yeah, and short interval, but, you know, so in the lead up to that, we've already worked out what's affecting him, whether it's our body pressure or whether we're asking him too much, you know?
Yeah.
If he's got the instinct to work, the only reason he's shutting down a bit is because he's not processing something correctly.
He's not confident.
He's not confident, so we got to what he's not understanding, you know? Is it us? Are we too overbearing? Are we better off working him with our shoulder a bit more and not even giving him a look at our chest? Like, there's other ways you can keep them going for longer. If they're not going in the pressure, a dog will more want to work for longer, if he's enjoying himself, you know?
And keep his head about him too.
Yeah.
Yeah. And do you guys put a bit of time away a week for training, or you go 1 weekend a month, or just, hey, let's go have a quiet bev and let the kids run amok over here? Like, how do you guys kind of
Well,
put
we
that
go
time aside?
trolling to kick back.
Yeah, every day we're training.
Yeah.
Every
Yep.
single day, all day, training dogs, and then on the weekend
Yeah.
we're trialing. That's our getaway.
And like our troll dogs, we don't train on them. You know, we get them to a certain level, and I'll be honest, I shortcut a few of them, and then because they're pretty natural, but
Yeah.
because you're dealing with so many other dogs. When you've worked 20 dogs for the day, you know, then you come to the one you should be working. Well, wait till we kick it back on the weekend, and we'll troll him.
We'll get back into trial. Are you guys working together as well?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So if you guys go out and you contract as a team, or always working together?
Depends what's going on and how many people they need or what's going on at home. So the whole time Dave and I have been together, we've always worked together. But some jobs only require one person, or, you know, like today I had to go out and I had a job on, so land marking, drafting and drenching, so I went. Dave had a client coming out, he had to show the ropes with the dog, so he stayed at home and he trained dogs all day. So yeah, it differs from day to day, but generally
Got the cream today.
Yeah, generally we're doing it side by side, whatever we're doing.
Yeah. And it's good because Sarah's got a full team, another training dogs. So what we like to do a heap of paddock work when we've got a heap of paddock dogs at that level, or then we like to go do some yard work or whatever. So we fly by the seat of our pants a bit, really, with what's around and what's going to be suitable for our dogs' needs is where we aim up, to be honest. Of course, we both love looking after livestock, and that's your passion. And you know, you sort of miss having stock to look after. But, you know, one day we'll get a crack at least in the block or something, and we'll be able to do that there then. But doing what we're doing just enough to get through so you can have that transitioning from puppy and trainer, mobs, and got all the detail on them just to go give them few weeks. Like you can get a lot on a dog just by putting him in the position and letting him take control a little bit. So we do work together.
And have you got a his and hers team you mentioned there, or interchangeable team, or?
No, we don't share dogs. My dogs are my dogs. His dogs are his dogs. Yeah.
And was that a line drawn in the sand early?
Yeah, well, we noticed, so if we're going doing a job, even from when we were at Queensland working cattle, if I had to go fetch a cow and a weaner back, I didn't want Dave's dogs coming with me, and I didn't want my dogs leaving me and going to Dave. So we had to, early on, we established that my dogs would be with me and his dogs would be with him. So if we had to separate, at least we had our dogs with us. There's nothing worse than, you know, Dave take off from the mob to go fetch me back and I'm left with no dogs. And, you know, you're running around like a, you know, crazy lady trying to keep all the cows together, or vice versa. So, yeah, we established that pretty early on.
Yeah, beautiful.
And I love when I let my dogs out and Sarah tries to call them and they just ignore her and go wait for me. Like, I just have this little moment in time where I think I've got this mate. Like, my dogs don't even like you.
Yeah, and it's normally where he's asked me to go get his dog or go put his dog away, and they will not come with me. They'll just sit at the back door, or you know, you can start the quad bike and they will not come.
And Dave mentioned early on there that he had a stack of dogs before the work dogs and the hunting dogs and whatnot. So this question might be a bit easier for Sarah. Do you remember your first dog when you came here?
Oh, when I came here, yes,
Yeah.
I do. When I was working on a place with Dave, I got thrown off a horse and it jumped on my arm. So I busted my arm. And at the time, Dave had a little Kelpie pup actually. And when I met him, I wasn't allowed to pat his dogs. So I'd be patting his dogs and he'd say, oh, you know, don't pat my dogs. Must be a Queensland thing where you're not allowed to touch people's dogs. And it was so strange for me coming from England, you know, where everyone pats everyone's dogs. So he said, don't touch my dogs, don't touch my pup.
And
So,
you don't wear a man's hat.
Yeah.
So because I'd done my arm in, I wasn't working. So they'd go off all day mustering, and while he wasn't there, I'd sneak off and get this little puff, and I'd be cuddling it all day and reading a book with it. And then when they were coming back, I'd quickly put it back and make out that I hadn't been patting the puppy. But he's obviously a lot cleverer than I thought he was, and he knew. And he was like, well, you've been patting my pup, and it doesn't want to have a bar to do with me, so you might as well have him. And he'd called him, so my maiden name's Newman, and he'd called the dog Newman. So that was my first dog that he gave me, was the one that I was pinching when he wasn't looking.
Did you ever go on to do much with it?
Yeah, he was a really handy cattle dog, actually, and I absolutely loved him. But we moved down to a place at Beaudesert, and unfortunately he got paralysis tick, and I found it way too late, and that absolutely was devastating. I've never seen anything like it before, but it was horrendous. Yeah, not very nice. So
that's another reason why we got out of that coastal country and that northern country. You just have a dog, and that you thought a bit of, and then a snake would get him, or 1080 would get him, or tick would get him.
Yeah.
You know, or something would happen. So come down here, like there's a lot less of that. You know, cooler climate. You can work them for a bit longer. Yeah, when we're mustering up there, you could walk, stock for 7 or 8 kilometres. And you could be in the lead of them, and your dog's been trotting along and putting them together all day. And there's a lot of heat coming off that red ground, and then the dog's that thirsty, and then he'd get in trouble if he ducked into a water trough in front of the cattle. So being down anywhere you can get a drink and cruise along and do a bit easy. We're not cooking them. Yeah,
and we had to have big teams of dogs up there because they'd all be getting jumped on. So one would have sore pads, or so they'd always have dogs out. So you had to have a big team up there, or they'd get hot, or they'd overheat. There'd be days where Dave's having to put holes in his, dip his cowboy hat and put water in it so the dogs could have a drink because they're so hot. Or you put them up on your saddle where there's, a wiener's taken off and they had to fetch it back, and then they're really knocked up. Yeah, it's a hard life for them up there.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, much nicer on them down here.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned you had a few there. What's the core team look like at the moment?
Go on then. What's your core team?
I can do a job with them anyway. Yeah. I've got a variation of them. I'd like to run them a lot more than what I do. I just had 12 over at Tasmania with me for 6 weeks, mustering the hills over there, and I took some other pups over, and that was pretty cool, really. Seeing them dogs' natural ability with just a bit of a handle I had on them at home to put them into that real work, they just handled it like,
Who's a couple of the favourites there, Dave?
Hey?
Who's a couple of the favourites there?
Test.
I've got a bitch called Test. Her name was Tess, but we've got a little mate that's named Tess, and she's sort of skinny little girl. So I thought, oh shit, if she's around, and this dog was all ears and real skinny looking thing, so I changed his name to Tess. I got her. I just love how she can handle a stock from a distance, but she comes in 100 mile an hour when you want her. But I like her, and I've got another little bitch called Choice. I'm having fun with her, and I've got a pup out of Choice, and I reckon she's better again. They're nice, and I've got I've probably got another sort of 4 or 5 dogs about that 2-year-old. And there's a dog there, Ace, he's hairy, and he's like me, he's a little bit ugly, but he's got plenty of GO in him. And he probably reminds me when I was young, he's just probably full on crazy, and he loves it so much he makes a bit of a pig of himself. But if I can get him steadied up, I'm going to have a bit of fun with him. It's And what else I got? Oh, and I've got a couple other ones that I trial. Yeah, well, we're going that all night. So, what about Sarah's core team?
Well, I've got a few, but Rock's my number one. My Rock dog. He's a beautiful dog and so easy. So yeah.
What is it about Rock?
Oh, he just wants to please me. He's calm. He's cool-minded. He's not grubby. He's just, yeah, so easy to have around. He's nice in the paddock, nice and steady. But yeah, he's got plenty of back and bark, and you know, in the yards, and I can work him on cows if I need to. But I don't, because I don't want to hurt my little baby. So I'll avoid that, of course. So yeah, he's my number one. And I did have his sister, but unfortunately she had a nasty accident and I lost her. And she probably would have been my number one if she was still here. But she had a litter of pups when she died. And so I kept 3 of them, and Dave's got Ace, which he was talking about, which was out of her too. So, so Ice was out of my bitch that died, Rock's sister, and he's a really special dog too. Been doing really well with him. He's a really nice paddock dog, sane, cool and calm, but good in the yards. And I've been doing really well trialing with him as well. He's just so easy to get on with. You know, nothing's too hard to do with him. I just really enjoy working them. They're my two main men.
Yeah, beautiful. Dave, was there you're right, Laura?
No, there's a question here just come in from John O'Pillow for both of you. Is there any particular dog that's had an influence on your team or line?
I'm glad I didn't ask that question and you got in first.
Talk over the top of Daniel to get it in.
Yeah.
We get there in the end.
Yeah, a dog is called Toby of Lee Mickens. So he's what attracted me to the Kelpie world, really. I saw him work. He could handle merinos really delicate, but he could, you know, if they were big weathers, he could deal to them. If they were composites, he could deal to them. So he's been a big influence. And I got I bought a dog for $50. And I was at Horsham Trial there one day, and this old fella's come out of the hills, and he's come down, and they were short on dogs, and he's run all these dogs. He had a heap of 2 and 3 year old ones, and there was this hairy dog, and I just saw him get around his stock, and I could see old mate was not getting along with him. And I just went, that's the Kelpie that goes like a collie. I like him, you know. So I went up to hit him up. If he'd sell me the dog, I said to Sarah, how much can I spend, you know? She said, there's no money, you can't do that. I said, well, I'm going to buy this dog. So how much can I spend? I think she said $1,500 or $2,000 or something. And I went and had a yarn to old mate, and he said, you can have him, I'm only going to shoot him. I said, well, I can't do that. I'll give you a carton for him. Anyway, so his name's Malcolm Sargent, and he's probably taught me a lot about softer type of a dog too. But we've used him because he's really square on his flanks, and like he'll just go up over their backs and under them all day. He just gets smashed all day. He loves it, but he's kind to his stock. He's a merino dog. And I love a lot of things about him. You know, I would rather a dog, I would like him if I could bully stock with him a bit. I can't, but I just thought between Toby and Sargent, if we can get the happy medium in that, we'd be pretty happy little campers, I reckon. And so that's what we've been doing. We've only ever joined him sort of 4 times, I think. Yeah, and shit, I'd hate to count sort of the type of money we've sort of got out of the pups. Like it's phenomenal, really. But yeah, so he's been, yeah, we're basing it around it, not stereotyping just him or not just him, but they were a couple of dogs that, yeah, that we are influencing our dogs with. Well, we have, you know.
Yeah.
And are you the same, Sarah?
Yeah, Sarge is just the kindest dog. I mean, Dave couldn't get him to bite a sheep for there for a long time, could you? Like, he's just the kindest, sweetest dog, and just loves Dave. He's the one that will be sat at the back door waiting for him, and if I need to put him away, I have to, you know, go get a lead and drag him away, because he won't be anywhere without Dave. And I really like, he's very biddable, and he's just a lovely dog. And even, and Toby too, consistent. Yeah, really nice dog. So yeah, definitely influenced our lines a lot.
Yeah.
And when we're talking about influencing your lines, is there anything you'd like to put into your lines?
So Rock's sister and Rock, and like there's some firm dogs in them. Like they go to cattle good. So their mother went to cattle. She was probably a bit piggy on stock, but she'd sort of bash into them and then create that bit of room. So and we've got firmer bitches, so we've put the Sarge line over the firmer bitches, and in the litters we've been getting them real strong ones with that good cover, and then you'll get one sort of similar to Sarge a little bit, but the bitch line for us is everything. So like breeding horses or cattle or sheep or whatever, you can have the best ram in the country or the best whatever in the country. You can you put it over something that's no good, you lessen your chances. So our bitches are good, firm feeling things, so that's allowed us to use starge in them lines. Look, so our way of breeding is we don't go for the extreme paddock dogs, and we don't go for the extreme yard dogs. We back it back a bit and go for them dogs in the middle, because then we can train him that end and train him that end. So that's the sort of what works for us. So if we bring an outside stuff in, we're going very similar to that same style of dog. Like, we don't want to go influencing it with this big super paddock dog with no inside work. We don't want to lose where we're at. So we're pretty particular with coming back in. To keep that consistency pretty stable now.
So basically, you're pretty happy with where we're at.
And those outside dogs you're talking about, like that are similar, are you looking at pedigree as well, or you're not really too fussed on that, as long as they have the traits you like?
Traits. I don't care what their name is. I don't care. I do not judge them on it. Only thing is I don't go for yellow dogs or anything like that. I go for either red and tans or black and tans. But apart from that, I find the dog and then I look at his pedigree after it. And for us, making sure they're CA clear and everything clear, or something that we could work with prior to any future matings or anything like that.
So you guys DNA test a bit?
Sorry, say that again, Laura.
So you guys DNA test?
Yeah. Everything.
Yeah. So you DNA test your pups before you sell them?
Yeah.
Well, not your going dogs and everything.
Yeah, the going dogs. Yeah.
Well, and that's something that's becoming a lot more popular now. Like, I think I was only talking about this with some, old timers the other day at different trials, like, pronounced people out there that have really got a hold of this as well. How have you, when you start talking about that with your clients, how was that taken?
Most people don't know about it or don't even know what it is. So we test all our bitches, and if you've tested your bitches and your dogs, well, you know what your pups, if they're clear, your pups are going to be clear. It's only if you've got a carrier that they're either going to be a carrier or they're going to be clear. So make sure we test, all the bitches we use, any dogs. The only dramas that we might run into is when you use an outside dog, not everyone's willing to test their dogs. So you sort of take a gamble there, but as long as we make sure our bitches are clear, you're right. But hopefully it's something that everyone's going to get onto, not just, a small minority.
Well, how we got onto it is because we're going to bring dogs back from the UK. So, I spoke to breeding guru lad, and he said this is what you got to look for. No good finding what you want, and it's got genetic faults. So get the testing done, or purpose breed. Really put a bit of emphasis on being a bit selective like that, because you don't want to get the type you want and then you back yourself into a corner.
Yep, absolutely.
So due to that, made us well aware. So when we're going into the Cowpie world, and we were so happy when we found out where you could test and do a full test and the whole lot of it. Like, I thought everyone would be using it. I didn't think for a second that they weren't. But getting back to the clients, once they've been explained that, they're pretty good. But it's 50-50. Some don't care really. Some go, oh, well, it's a dog,
Yeah. Absolutely. And speaking about clients, that you guys have had a bit of success through auctions to start with. And you actually brought up a real good point prior to us going live. Matt, you want to just touch on that?
So what was that point?
I knew you were going to ask
about reaching like market expectation.
Yeah.
For when.
Yes. Well, so with the with the auctions, we only go through there to see to get a good evaluation on what the dog is worth. Because what I feel he's worth or what someone else feels him worth, well, that's he said, I said. You go to auctions and you get a good evaluation on it. So that's why we've chose to go through them. And I just noticed, we noticed when we were down here, we saw a lot of half-going pups, not a call-off, not a sit. And I thought, well, you wouldn't have to have any different bred dog here. All you'd have to do is have a bit of presentation and it to the eye be a lot more appealing. So one would imagine you get a few extra dollars for it. But the downside to that is, there's a lot of anxiety about where the dog's going to go. Are they going to look after him? Are we going to find out what the dog's going on? And that's the downside to it all. Where I don't go to a sale and I'm happy. I realise when I'm at a sale that money doesn't mean bugger all to me. Yeah. I realise that. So like I was talking about, I sold a hairy dog called Harvey, a collie dog, and we butted heads a bit, but we made it there in the end, and he was really loyal to me. So Gus and Rory come around all excited to we got your dog, you got your dog. I found it very confronting, so I just couldn't talk. I just had to go straight to the toilet and have a little bit of a spat about it, and get control of myself before I could come back. Immediately, I did go straight to the bar under the rums. That helped. But it's people see, someone got that for that dog, or they got that dog. I don't pride myself on I got that much for that dog. So it's mixed emotions with the old with the dog auctions, and when the cattle job jumped, the sheep job jumped, and after they had a few good years, a lot of people saw a few dollars in dogs and they just sort of dumping what they can through, and I think if we could have auctions and there could be people there that knew the dogs are solid and sound, and someone could guide the buyer maybe into the right dog, because would help the auction job along a little bit, and probably let people like us not worry about where the dog's going to go, because there's someone there matching them up a little bit. They're not just getting mate's point of view on what he said and that person said or that person said. I find with selling them privately at home, we go into depth about understanding their client, what their needs are, and sometimes, and this happens more than once, it reoccurs quite often, that they've got an opinion of what type of dog that's going to suit them because they've been speaking to neighbours, brothers, auntie, and they had a convo about a dog and all this and that, and they build up a picture of what they think they need, and it could be totally opposite to what they actually need, you know. So in realising all that, you know, and we sell quite a few here at home. It puts a different spin on the old dog auctions.
Absolutely. And to anyone out there that when Dave was talking about getting emotional there before, that thinks that it might be played up for the cameras. I know you said you don't like yellow dogs, Dave. You like your red and tan and your black and tan. I remember we were at an auction last year and I demoed a yellow dog. And after that, you walked up to me. I don't know if you remember. And you walk straight up to me and you go, yeah, it's not easy selling these dogs, is it? When you love them, and I can see how much you love that dog. And that has resonated with me for the last 18 months now, or they're close to it, whatever, however long it was, because that was a pretty hard moment for me. But like you said earlier, like sometimes to build a reputation, you need to part with something of quality as well. And that resonated with me, mate. I just wanted to thank you for actually coming out that day and saying that. Like it really, I was a bit upset myself about that. So, no, thank you, mate.
And we put on a brave face, especially being males, don't we?
Yeah, we have to, right?
And being males, like, you know, we put on all that, but, you know, you had great connection with that dog. You presented him well. I think is probably one of the best presented dogs that were there. I was pretty dumbfounded. I thought it was going to bring a hell of a lot more than what it did, to be honest. I thought it was a nice style, and you had him going good, but the dog was just in tune with you. And you know, when your energy are up, the dog's energy was up, and when your energy was down, like the dog just knew where to be. And then I know that connection, and I just know what's coming after the sale. You know, so I wanted to mention to you, you're not alone. Like, it's all right to feel bad that you sold your dog you like, and it means that you care and you want to put a good product out there, which I admire. So that's why I come and said what I said, bud. Yeah.
No, thank you, mate. Much appreciated. And while we're talking about feelings and whatnot here, Sarah, you got something coming up yourself that you've put a bit of time into. Do you want to talk a bit about that?
Yes, on the 12th and 13th of August, I've arranged a ladies' weekend. So, just get a group of ladies together to come and work dogs, and a bit of a social gathering, really, because I know there's a few ladies out there that would like to go do clinics, but they just lack confidence. So it's like a non-judgmental weekend where no one's, got any opinions on anyone else. We're just there to have a good time and hang out, all for the same reasons. So yeah, really looking forward to it. I've been wanting to do it for a long time, but yeah.
And you've organised Gordon Ramsay there as well, I hear?
Yeah, so hopefully he doesn't burn everything and give us food poisoning. We're hoping it's going to be a good week.
Well,
anyone that might be
25 drunken dog women here, so how do you think that's going to be? It's going to be some interesting conversations.
So, and is that full now? Are you tapped out? Are you at capacity, or can people still?
No, I won't take any more. I think that's enough for the first one. We'll see how it goes and see how it works, whether we do another one and if I have more or less people. So we're just testing it out. They're all guinea pigs at the moment to see how it goes.
If it all sort of kicks going, like, it'd be good then, because we've got lights and stuff here, so then you could have a little jackpot thing at the end of it, the girl, just to, finish the spirit off, like, so it won't be this time, but down the track, No,
it's an awesome idea, and I've seen it through the horses, and they just go nuts. Like, it's something that is really, as much as we don't like to admit it, it is a man's sport. To some degree, it's heavily male dominated too. So
the horses or the dogs?
Oh,
it must be horses.
We get beat by girls in Victoria every weekend.
Well, exactly. But at the end of the day, percentages, there's more males than there is females. So it's good to see the women getting together and helping each other out and learning from each other. So hats off to you, Sarah. Like it's great that you're both doing it, and it's even better that David's on the barbecue. So we'll have to see some more of them.
That's it. I think it's good too because a lot of them are like me, you know, got kids or you're constantly working on the farm, so you don't get to socialise. You know, you don't say, oh, I'm going down the pub for a couple hours, see you later, can you look after the kids? So it's a good excuse to have a weekend away. You're working dogs, so you're doing something constructive, but you're also, you know, hanging out and hopefully getting in a good mental space where you might not get to talk to people normally because you're so busy at home or away on the, you know, on the farm. So yeah, hopefully.
It's like doggy Tinder, isn't it?
Not really.
No.
Sorta.
So, talking about getting out there and making them more comfortable, do you still get nervous trialing?
Yeah, I do. Not as much as I used to. I remember the first, I don't know, a couple of years, I'd be, you know, queuing at the toilet every 5 minutes, and my hands would be shaking. You try to undo the gate latch, and your hands are just shaking, or your knees are shaking. But yeah, I'm a lot more relaxed. The only time I've got really nervous was this year at the Australians at Mansfield, and I made the top. I think I made the top 10, and the first two people that went before me couldn't get their sheep round, and I knew it was going to be tough, and like my nerves just took over, and I wasn't thinking straight, and I could feel my legs shaking, and I'm trying to pull myself together. It was horrible. So I still definitely get nervous, but I try and tell myself that I'm excited and put myself in the right headspace, because if you keep telling yourself you're nervous all the time, you're going to be nervous. I try and change that to, oh, I'm excited, this is going to be fun, and just try and enjoy it while I'm out there.
Bit of Bruce Lee mentality.
Yeah, that's it.
And what's your personal takeaway from trialing? What keeps you on the hook?
Oh, we've met so many fantastic people through doing it. We've got such really good friends we would never have met in a million years if we hadn't started dog trialing. So that's a really big thing for me, the people that we've met. And also we wouldn't have known about, you know, all these other dogs. Like we wouldn't have known who Toby was if we hadn't been out trialing and got to experience seeing all these fantastic dogs and their handlers going around. So it's been big eye-opener that way, getting to view heaps and heaps of different dogs and their abilities, yeah, and just the fantastic people that you get around it too.
And yourself, Dave? What keeps you on the hook, mate? Is it the same?
Well, we're one of the fortunate ones where we, you know, dogs are our life and our living. You know, so, you know, I get, I don't want to go, I'd rather stay here. But, you know, Sarah's momentum, this is where we feed off each other. Come on, lazy, let's go. Come on, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. You know, and she reminds me how lucky we are to be dog people, you know, for a living. So, you know, and this, you go to another trial or whatever else, and you know, good things come of it. So it's free advertising for us, for people if they like how our dogs go. You know, there'll be an old farmer in the crowd, and he'll come sing me out. You know, oi, you know, I like the way you work your dog, and I like this, I like that. You know, so yeah, part of business, and you know, and Sarah's motivation to probably keep going, really. But only reason I got into trialing, like we've only been trialing what, 4 years,
maybe 5 years, 6.
5 years, you know, was I wanted to learn to get a better handle so I could present one properly. Yeah, and now we're addicted.
Yeah. Well, who wouldn't want to spend the weekend with their dogs, hanging out with other people that are really passionate with their dogs? Like,
yeah. And really, we've got the kids with us. Like, whether we locked in the car, we fight and argue, and we, you know, the kids get the opportunity. Then doesn't matter where we go. If they could be fast asleep, they wake up and put their head out. Where's that kids?
Yeah.
You know, where are they? They don't care who it is. they bar none, they go play with them. So the social side of things and the confidence them kids have got, we owe trial a lot for that, really. And our confidence, has grown a lot through trialing. So, so it's a mixture of things while we keep doing it and while we love it, really. But,
And it makes you step up your game.
Yeah.
So you've got to step up your dog handling,
yeah.
capabilities, your dogs. It gives you that enthusiasm to go out and work your dogs. Oh, there's a child coming up, better clean up my side, or I don't know, get a better sit on my dog, or can't clear gates, or you've got a young dog you want to trial. So, put that extra work into them. So it's,
But relate back to the horse go. Say you've got, you go into a challenge and you know what date it's going to be on. Like you get your horse set to go. So if you haven't got an end destination where you want to finish on your dog, you'll never get far along. So so that helps us keep cruising too. Yeah.
And you mentioned the Australian yard trial before. Have you tried other disciplines of trialing as well?
So I've done cattle trials,
Yep.
a bit of utility, we've tried a bit of 3 sheep. Yeah, we've tried a few.
It's probably we've had 2 goes at 3 sheep now.
Yes.
3.
Maybe.
3 go up 3 sheeping. And just for the type of dogs who are running for them, like in a few years' time, we're going to be able to 3 sheep them. Once they're a bit more broke, so that's the only reason we haven't sort of pursued that much. And for us, where we make a living out of selling working dogs, so we don't need to step too far either way. We like utility, and we've had 2-3 goes at that now. And would like to do more. There's not a lot close, so that's against us a little bit. You're traveling big hours for that. Originally I just wanted to trial cattle. I had no interest in training the sheepdog, like to this extent anyway. But and all the lads that sort of know me pretty well, they have a giggle themselves knowing that I'm working with sheep. So
We just have to travel so far for the cattle though. It's probably a 6-hour drive for us to go do the ones over at Vanilla. So there aren't very many around, otherwise we'd probably do some more.
If we win the lotto, we're going to buy a block over there so we can go over and do some, and then we can come back over here, and then another one in New South Wales, and we can just sort of be everywhere. But
living the high life.
Keep getting them tickets in, eh?
Is there a trophy you would like to have on your mantelpiece?
I've already got her.
Oh, I don't know. We can do much more from that.
That was good. That was
Really
good.
done. No.
I think winning an Australian would be great.
Yep.
I know this sounds weird, but I haven't got anything personally that I'm looking on. We would love to win everything, but it is what it is. So I would like to. I'd like to sort of do a lot more cattle, sheep, like the stock dog things the lads run there at Mansfield. What was it?
Yeah.
Spring stock dog.
Yeah, I like that concept. It shows a dog how diverse it can be. There. I'd like to win that one.
Yeah.
And just give Campbell a run for his money too.
There's a question here. It's sort of back a little bit, but Rick Freeman's asked, what's the best mistake in training or managing a dog that you learnt the most from and influenced you to this day?
Probably one for me has been handling sides, probably.
Yeah, but it wasn't a mistake that you've learned from.
Yeah, well, there's been a few of them. Come along, I'll give you the tip. Yeah, and dog training's not perfect, so there's mistakes. You just can't go too far where they don't forgive it. Is all. You can get away with a lot and make a heap of different mistakes, but you've got to recognise what the mistakes are or what caused the mistakes. I think is the biggest deal.
Yeah.
You know, and how to right the wrong next time round or when we approach a situation again.
Yeah, and not putting them in a situation where they're going to get hurt. So when we're in Queensland, it's a lot harder to train your dogs up there because you haven't got nice quiet sheep. So once your dogs are at a certain age, it's time to go to work. So I had a really nice dog that I put on some broken weaners that I thought were quiet, and one happened to take off and she went round to block it and it just absolutely smashed her and we had to have her put down. So I think that was a big learning curve. Well, it frightened me then to put my nice dogs on cattle. So I think, yeah, being mindful of what could happen and not putting your dogs in a situation where they're going to get hurt.
Yeah.
What's that got to do with the dog?
That's what I've learned from my little dog. Yeah, when she got hurt, it's my biggest mistake. That it's taught me a bit about being careful about what I'm doing, not just throwing them in.
And when you've made as much mistakes as I have, like you can nearly see them coming. You go, oh gee, and you're half looking.
Get the wince on.
There it is. Yeah. So. Yeah, but look, if you're not making mistakes, you're not having a go. You're not, But you, not only the dog's got to learn, we've got to learn an experience out of it.
Is there a message you'd love to get into out there amongst the people?
Work dogs and trial dogs are the same thing. It's how they're started. So different, the bull catching dogs and the real rough, ready going dogs, it's pretty confronting to go trial and put yourself on show, but it's rewarding too, like to get to break them comfort zones down, and have a go, because I've people tell me now, well, like you only got trial dogs, you only a trialer, you haven't got work dogs. Like, I've got the best work dogs I've ever had in my life now. Like whether I might have to run an extra dog if I'm breaking in a heap of cattle or something like that, and I'll cop that on the chin. But don't make excuses for yourself. Don't hang around people that are going to make excuses for themselves. And people trying to ram, oh, that dog's no good, or they're pushing stuff on it. Don't even come into them. Like, it's different if you're running a corgi, and the corgi's just not going to cut the mustard. But if you got a different style of a dog or whatever, don't be rattled by it. Don't feel that you need to fit anyone's basket. I think be there for the right reasons, and we're all great winners. Being that sportsmanship type of a person, and go and enjoy your dogs, because there's a heap of cool people out there now in doing the same things that always bag trialers or bag this or bag that. Go have a go. Find, if I wanted to send a message, it would be to find people that you like how they work their dogs or work their stock. It doesn't mean you have to think they're the best people or whatever else. Observe them, watch them. Don't get caught up in any of the he said, I said, that, got to have this, got to have that. Just be open-minded and you'll work the rest out yourself. As a handler, maturing from just a station hand, stock hand, into a trialer, like your opinion changes and changes and changes. So be open-minded and just enjoy the ride, because, the trophies, like our kids break them here for fun. They're as much as we want to win, but you know, and a lot of people, we all want to win, but it's all cool not to be. Just enjoy your time and you know, enjoy your dogs. So
Have a go.
focus
Enjoy
on
them.
that, and then if you get a ribbon, well, she's all apples, brother.
Beautiful. Is there anyone you'd like to see us have a chat with on Dog Talk?
I haven't seen a heap of who's been on here, but there'd be a few people I'd like to see for different reasons. I don't know if old Rexy Hawkins has been on.
No, not yet.
He's pretty cool. He's old school. Like he's the one that's opened the gate onto us to go trialing. You know, you got to do this, you got to do that. And like we love him and Kay. That's where our trialing sort of started. I'd like to see them, but I spent a bit of time up bush with a few fellas, and you know they're good dog people, and their dogs do their job. A fella called Jason Taylor, he's a big, skinny, big fella, and loves beer and loves talking about a dog, and just something a bit different. And there's Sam Gates and his father there at Armidale, like. They're a prime example of work dudes that can trial, and their job is they're pastoralists, like they're raising livestock is what they do. So they've got dogs that can work the cattle and do the whole lot of it, but still, if they wanted, they can go have a bit of a run and trialing, and they breed bulls and rams, so they're really into their genetics and all that sort of thing. So. I reckon it'd be cool to get them on to see what they had to say. Because, what Sam didn't know, he'd make up anyway.
No, beautiful. We'll pursue some of those. I just wanted to touch, because you mentioned Rex and Kay there. It'd be rude of me to assume, but I believe they had an anniversary yesterday, and I'm assuming it was a long one. So I just want to say happy anniversary to you guys if you did happen to listen to this. So I'm assuming it's maybe a fairly long anniversary. So congratulations.
Yeah, and look after Rexy. she's a Queensland chick, so we've got a bit in common, me and Kay.
Yeah, and they really helped us when we first started trialing, actually, and they very inspiring how they really help and encourage handlers. Such beautiful people that take their own time out to help others. So they're very special to us.
When we started, there was like SA Club was thriving. There was people everywhere, and it was a happening thing.
Yeah, they've done a lot. Yeah. Done a lot for trialing in SA.
How important was having someone in your corner there, really encouraging you? Like, if you didn't have someone in your corner like that, do you think you would have continued trialing?
Oh, we didn't have a clue. I remember we went out to Rex, so they invited us out on a Sunday to go and show us the ropes, along with other encouraged handlers that had nominated for Lucindale. And we went out there, and I remember Rex saying, "Well, your dog can't come between you and the gate, and it can't do this." And we're like, "What? Like your dog can't cross you? Your dog can't? Are you serious?" And we're so worried. And you got to clear this gate before you do that. And we were so spun out by all these things that you had to do that we had no idea. No. If we hadn't had that, I could imagine our first, trial experience probably wouldn't have been as much fun as it was. And at the time, we had cattle dogs from Queensland that were just trained to back some sheep, and we had to have a real good handbrake on them, otherwise they'd be ripping their nostrils off. So it was pretty daunting anyway. So we were very lucky and fortunate to have them help and guide us.
Yeah, and mentor us, and that's the part that we want to give back with helping people coming in, because we're pretty new into it, and we know that transition, and especially for the bush people to go there, like not knowing no one, they're going to judge your dog. It's confronting time, so having them to help us in the way, So we want to return the favour, really.
Beautiful. That's
Yeah.
awesome. Was there a question tonight that that you guys picked, and they will win a bag of Enduro High-G food for working dogs with real kangaroo meat?
I think was it the question about us working together?
Yeah, that was
not that one.
that
He's
was
gonna
my
remind me just how good that question was.
I thought that was a good question.
Mango, Mark Mango, congratulations. Bag of food
Mark,
coming your
well done,
way.
Mark.
I'll have a message from him in the next 32 seconds anyways. So make sure you get it to me.
He was
Yeah,
telling
well.
commented before that he identifies as a female, so he wants to come to
Oh,
the
that's right. He's going to come. He did say that, but he did say he was going to change that pretty quick, so he didn't have to do any washing or cooking or cleaning.
You know, and you know, Enduro, yeah, like we love the product, and fortunate enough to have Paul in our corner helping us along, feed a few hounds. You know, being a part of a little Aussie company, that the product was there, but just wasn't out as it is now. So being a part of that ride and having that support, you know, has been terrific, you know, and seeing it grow now to where they can't keep up with orders, is, you know, makes you feel a bit warm, you know. So yeah, we love the product. So if they haven't tried it, try it.
Yeah, cool.
Love it.
Love
Yeah.
it.
One last question as
I'm
always.
gonna say, Laura, you gonna let it get away that easy, or
Would you rather fight one duck the size of a horse or 20 horses the size of ducks?
Well, I'd go for the horses because there's plenty of them, and I'd be able to deal with them somehow.
How about you, Sarah?
I totally did not understand that.
One duck the size of a horse or
Righto.
20 horses the size of ducks.
20 horses the size of ducks.
take
Why?
them? Why we take them on?
Yeah.
You get the kids,
Well,
like
they're
I'd be
smaller.
able to break them in. I'd be
The
able to drink a
kids
few
probably
big
love
bottles watching it dung them out in the front yard.
I think a duck the size of a horse might be quite scary.
it.
So definitely, 20 horse. And I like horses too.
Oh, well, there you go. I'm
Yeah.
just imagining some like
Just
Happy
feed them-
Gilmore thing where everyone's just going around on horses on a
Carrots would be
stick.
away.
Guys, thank you very much for your time tonight. Really appreciate it. They had a couple of young ones there as well, so really appreciate you putting some time aside for us.
Well,
I hope
thank
you
you
enjoyed
very
it.
much for having us.
I
Thank
know
you
it's been
so much. It's
been
taken
a bit of a
while.
wild corner in us, but yeah, so yeah, it's been a bit of fun.
Absolutely.
Good luck with
And
it all.
sorry.
Yeah, no, it's been a bit of fun, and yeah, good luck with it all. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. And to everyone that tuned in tonight, thank you. And everyone listening back, I hope you enjoy it. And please remember, we learn every day, and the day we stop learning is a sad one for all of us. Good night.
Bang on, brother.
Thank